Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and this is Harry from Spurs TV, back with another video. And today I'm going to do a video about Spurs season and a review of it. And this is just my personal opinion as a caveat to this. So before everyone gets on my tits for disagreeing with me, that's fine. But first of all, I'm going to talk about different segments of competitions we were in. So like the FA Cup, the League Cup, which will probably be my first discussion because it was very brief, and the Premier League, and then just some other overarching discussions in terms of the way the season went. So I'm just going to get right into it. First, I'm going to talk about is the League Cup. And the reason I'm bringing up the League Cup first is because it's going to be the briefest. So Spurs went and played Fulham away in the League Cup. It's the one game where Ange rested the better half of 9 to 10 players. I can't remember exactly how many, and Fulham did the same thing. Now, we got knocked out the first round. So Ange argues that he did this because he wanted to see what these players can do, like the Davies, the Emersons, and all of them. And we got knocked out. So, like I said, this will be the briefest discussion. To me, Ange threw away this cup, and this is probably our best chance to win a trophy. Now, we get to the FA Cup. That was probably slightly better. As you know, we lost the City at home before being knocked out, and I cannot, use that as a stick to beat Ange with because it's Manchester City. Albeit we didn't have a shot on target that whole game. Yeah, very interesting. And as you guys might remember, Porro scored a banger at home to Burnley, which got us through one of the rounds. But apart from that, not much about the FA Cup. Like I said, once he had City, who did eventually go to the final against Manchester United, which was a repeat of last year or season before's now. That's what happened. So, yeah. Now, obviously, the longest and most interesting part, let's talk about the Premier League. So, the first 10 or so games, Spurs were unbeaten, including wins against Liverpool, United. It all seemed more rosy at the beginning of the season, the first 10 games. Then we played Chelsea at home. TJ will attest to this. He did predict we'll lose this, so big up to him for this, I guess, in some ways. We lost 4-2. And 4-2. Why am I saying 4-2? 4-1. And of course, we went down to 9 men with Ramirez, Ricard included, and Dyer playing on later on. And we did play with a very high line, which, to dismay of many fans, including myself, kind of not was the reason we lost 4-1, but I didn't expect us to do that, especially because when Liverpool, earlier in that sequence of games at the beginning of the season, came to Spurs, they lost obviously 2-1 in the end, but they went to an extremely low block when they went down to 9 men. So, Ange, as I'll talk about in a minute, bangs on about, let's get the players to push the style. Is it correct? And we did persist with this inverted fullbacks, which did change throughout the season because we did have injuries. The wingers, I know people argue that Ange's wingers are meant to play further wide, but from what I saw this season, they were kind of playing inverted as well, because even Werner, who I expected when we signed him, will go down the wing and put a cross in. He did sort of do that, but he also, because he's right-footed, naturally went inside. Even Johnson, who I think out of all our wingers on paper, apart from, Son's a bit, I don't know. But I expect, Johnson to be the one to be like the Lennon, I guess, of this squad. He didn't really do anything much to that effect in terms of going down the wing, using his pace, putting in very good crosses. And yes, some people point to Johnson's goals and assists as like a metric, but as people will credit me for, all of Johnson's, Werner's, even Richardson's, who I have defended countless times, and Kulusevski even, who didn't have a very good season, all their goals and assists involved in the bottom 10 league, top bottom 10 sides of the league. So, albeit as well, if you look in the context of the actual assists, especially from Johnson, none of them were even that great. They were just like side foot passes to a tap in or something like that. Even his goals were like that too. So there's a lot to improve upon there. Sonny, yes, some people may say he's our player of the season, and I'm going to argue right here and now it's Van der Ven. Because without him, I think we'd probably be mid-table because he's literally carrying that whole defense with the high line, which we'll talk again. Just hold your thought with that because I'll talk about it in a few minutes. So, the Premier League, we did finish fifth in the end after like a rollercoaster of the season, really. Went for a sequence of losing 4 games near the end of the season, which was a record since 2004. It's never happened since then, which was kind of ironic because we did play Arsenal a few games before the season ended and we did lose instead of draw, like 04. But that's obviously a topic for another day. And apparently Spurs had the best points against the top 6 for most of the season. I don't know if that ended that way, but were we that good a great top 6? We were all right. I think the City performance away, the 3-3, okay, it was a good result, but we did kind of get lucky in the end with a last-minute header, and they could have even scored straight after that Haaland break, which somehow the referee blew the whistle, which was quite surprised about, if I'm honest. And then you have the situation whereby Romero was vice captain in the season, and some may argue this was the season where he matured. But again, as a player of our season, Van der Ven, without him, God knows what it would be. As for like the fullbacks, obviously Dogi and Porro played. Porro, I'd argue, was my most improved player. Last season, I know he only played 6 months, but I never thought he would be capable to play like a right back position. I know it's inverted, but in the sense that he's much better recovery than Dogi. Maybe that's to do with experience. I don't know. Maybe one of the two. At the beginning of the season, Basuma, which will be the most topic of discussion this summer, I think, from loads of Spurs channels, did all right overall. First 10 games, again, he was brilliant. Maddison kind of falls in okay category 2. Obviously, Højbjerg played a small part. Skip played here and there. And Bentancur was, eventually became like a mainstay in the midfield, but he was rushed back from injury. That kind of affected him. So, yeah, there's a bit of an issue there. And who knows what's going to happen for Bentancur in terms of like his long-term future at Tottenham. I think that's a good question to ask from a lot of people. No one seems to be talking about it, but last season was, again, in the meh category. And this is coming from someone like me who was praising Bentancur. And I'd even argue Bentancur was our best player under Conte's last season, I guess, for the first 6 months before his injury, which has resulted in the level he's at right now. And obviously our forward line is a massive topic of discussion. Johnson, as I alluded to before, was meh. Son was, I felt like he was kind of carried by his the quality of his goals weren't that great. He scored them, and fair enough, but Son's 32. He relies on his pace. At the beginning of the season, I think Maddison was connecting with him very well. Kind of like, obviously, people alluded to Kane with Son. But Son could only really score one kind of goal. You put him through, he's got to just slot it past the keeper. Have we seen the Son in the past where he would get the ball, go past 2 or 3 players, even cut in with 2 or 3 players and score a goal? And I'm going to bring Son up as a massive topic now because, again, he was named the club captain. And yes, his goal and assists look great, but the quality of his goals and assists were not that great, if I'm being completely brutally honest. He wasn't a good choice as the captain, and that showed, I think, in games where we went down 2 or 3-0 and he wasn't really the kind of man to galvanise the rest of the team to carry on and to try and fight back. And furthermore, with Son, like I said, he scored the same kind of goals. And he's 32. He's on the decline. It's just natural. Not because he was being a bad player for Spurs. He's probably one of our better players the past 5-6 years. But we're going to have to just move on from him eventually. But as you may see in my video before or after this, I mentioned that Son's getting an extension for another year or 2. So I guess Levy doesn't want to lose that revenue stream. So no surprise there. Whether Son will be captain again next season, I'd rather that's not the case. I think there's candidates out there that are better suited. Romero, everyone would say. I think Bentancur, there's an argument to be said for that because he plays in the middle of the park. But can he be a regular next season? I don't know. If it was me, I'd go out and buy a leader. Brutally honest, I'd go out and buy one. United obviously went and bought Roy Keane years ago. Go out and buy one. Maddison, would he fit the leader role? I know he's one of the vices. But if I'm being honest, my hand on heart, and this is not because he's been our best player this season, clearly the best signing, but I'd give it to Van der Ven from now. And the reason I say this is because he's placed in the middle of the park. Without him, Our defense looks ordinary because of the different tactics. But in the future, could it be someone else? But I'd rather give it to him now, if I'm being honest. As for the club's aims after this season, Ange kind of got what he wanted in terms of European football, being back at Tottenham, finishing obviously 5th and getting Europa League. But for next season, Ange has alluded to the fact that, we should be pushing for the title, which I think is bonkers. What I would be happy with is the top 4 finish and the trophy. I don't want either. I want both, if I'm being honest, because that would be the first time it's happened. And there's no reason why we can't do it with the right signings. Basically, I want a carbon copy of Liverpool's last season. I'd take that in a heartbeat. They finished 3rd. They won the Carabao Cup. We haven't won a trophy for 15, 16 years. But the club's aims, I'd hazard, I guess, will be to get into the Champions League again. You speak to Daniel Levy now, you just say, we need to get back into the Champions League because the biggest money and blah, blah, blah. And like I said, I have no issues with that because, let's finish in the Champions League. That's great. But if it doesn't come with a trophy, just forget it, man. At this point, it's just pointless. But the club's aims, I think, in the future will obviously to improve. In the last season, we finished 5th. But like I said, the only way they can be able to see it is to finish higher, so 4th. It depends obviously how much depth we get because obviously Werner's signed permanently now. As of recording this video, and it looks like Solomon, Højbjerg, the long list of players that I didn't really mention because Solomon had a little spell in the early season. They seem to be on their way out. But I know I thought it was a longer video, but tactics in the future. So let's talk about Ange's tactics. I did speak about it, earlier in this video, but it seemed like he didn't really change his tactics at all this season. Will he in the future, with the City game as a sort of an example, will he change it in the future? I'm quite 50-50 with this. I don't know if Ange's going to change. I don't know whether that was like I hate to use this. I mean, I'm not monetized. I will say I think the City will come like a fuck you to Spurs fans the way it went down that game. So the future is the future bright? Well, the transfer policy hasn't changed. Like I said, I think the club will just be aiming for 4th next season. Will Ange be pushing for more? I don't know. He says he's a winner, but so far I've not seen it. So his tactics will not change. I still think we're playing inverted fullbacks and we'll play high, very high line. And Van der Ven will have to carry us, which is why I said give Van der Ven the captaincy now. Let's screw this. I know some people say Vicario, but I think Van der Ven, he to me even looks more like a leader in a sense of, and it's just my opinion. I think I see him giving directions to the defenders, especially talking to Romero like on a constant basis. Because let's be honest, Van der Ven is the one who's basically saved Romero most of the time this season, and I'd give it to him. But what do you guys think? I mean, I thought this might be a very long video, but I think I'm so dejected after we signed Werner. I'm like, do I really want to talk about it? So thanks for watching, guys. This is pre-recorded, so again, please let me know what it's like. For some reason, my StreamYard seems to be playing up. So if you guys can see it in the video, please let me know because I'm going to put this as pre-recorded. And if there's no funny business, let me know. If there is, I'll have to fix it. But no one's mentioned anything to do about StreamYard, so it seems to be doing flashing for some reason. I don't know, but what can you do? This is just technology for you. So hurry out and come on, you Spurs.